Welcome to the Israel Vibe Community Launch. I know everybody says, I'm so glad, so excited that you're here, but I really am because I spent a lot of time thinking about and planning what is really needed for supporting people, especially unaffiliated Jews who are in the diaspora, fully integrated into their own communities, but still wanting something just a little bit more, something to make their life meaningful with a purpose, and also to feel that they have a connection, they have a Jewish identity. It may not be the traditional path or the synagogue attendance and study and all those things that more Orthodox people gravitate to naturally, but there's still a longing for that connection to be part of a people, especially a people that's as awesome as the people of Israel who have thrived and survived so many things throughout history and have contributed a great deal to the welfare of the world as a whole. So, in thinking about it very carefully, I decided that I would try to bring you as much of my personal experiences on the path and journey of Judaism as possible from my birth and adult years in Canada until we made Aliyah. We being my husband David and my son Josh and myself. We made Aliyah in 2007 from Toronto, and it's a world of difference. As I've explained elsewhere in the story of my journey, when we boarded that LL plane and on the runway taking off from Toronto, I knew I was heading for a new cultural experience. I knew I was going to learn a new language, but I didn't realize that I would also be stepping into history. And indeed, that's what I've done, because being in Israel and walking in the footsteps of our ancient people, looking out from my merpeset or balcony to the hills where they traveled back and forth from Jerusalem to the north or vice versa, I'm part of it. It's not just being Jewish and identifying as Jewish. It's really feeling in your heart and soul that you're part of the whole journey. You're part of the chain, the link in the chain of Jewish history. And it automatically gives you a purpose and a meaning to your life that goes beyond just your everyday routines and your work successes. So let me share that journey with you, starting with the picture here that you see of the Israel flag. This was taken a few years ago on one of my trips to Netanya, the Tayelet or promenade at Netanya, where I love to stroll and feel the sea breezes and the sunshine and just the hope and optimism in the air with the people who are there. It no longer is flying from this point on the little promenade in Netanya, but to me, whenever I see it, I think of all those who have made the journey with their hopes and desires and their fears and their anxieties, um, watching just as though they were at the prow, I think, of his ship, sailing for Israel and looking at the horizon. There's nothing there yet, but there will be soon, and it's a whole new world, and for many, rescuing from a very terrible situation and being in the homeland of their people, the sovereign Jewish nation rebuilt in Israel. So it's just a marvelous experience when you see that flying. And I want you to think just for a moment, imagine yourself being on that ship the first time going to Israel, not quite knowing what to expect, but the relief and the feeling of connection is going to carry you through. And that's been true of Jews throughout history. Now, we know, of course, that Jews don't have one look or one way of being or one ethnicity. They come from many different cultures. Israel is a very multicultural society. We have Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, which came from Europe. We have Mizrahi Jews and Sephardi Jews from the Arab lands along the Mediterranean and into Iraq and Iran and so on. So we don't all look alike, and we don't all have the same traditions and customs, but we do have the same basic language. And that's one of the things when you come to Israel. It may be a slow start, it may be a struggle, but as you learn the Jewish vocabulary, it makes you more connected to our history and to our people. So I've shown here the people just starting their Jewish journey, and down below I have a YouTube channel, and on that channel I have quite a number of videos, some short, some longer, but they're all about my experiences in living in Israel, and I want you to enjoy them. So don't forget at some point to go to my Israel Vibe channel on YouTube and sign up, subscribe to them so you get all the new and latest videos as I post them. Now, the early part of our adult life, we're in a discovery mode where we want to learn, explore, and build the identity that's going to be our authentic selves. And doing that, we acquire a number of facets of our identity, one at a time, or maybe several together. And those facets of our identity, our work, our chosen work, or what we have talents for, our relationships, social relationships with community, friends, and family, and hopefully with a partner, a spouse, to create our own family. We have work related relationships as well, and in Israel we have the army or the service relationship for young people. And that is such a huge part of the Israel identity. It's unbelievable. One of the reasons that we brought our 14-year-old son to Israel to grow to adulthood here was that, being an only child, we were very aware that the experience of being in the Army was said to be like developing brothers or having brothers. And indeed, it has been so. Often, when your son is in the Army and he comes home and he has a friend with him, or you pick up and drop off, and the Army buddies are there, they call each other ach or brother. And it really is the ethos of the IDF, of working together, struggling together, defending their home country. It's the IDF is not ever out to conquer and subjugate territory. It defends Israel's existence. So these factors help to make Israel very different. Now, in family influence, you may have had family traditions that you cherish when you were growing up. You may have had a special relationship with grandparents. That's often the case. And you may have gone to Jewish schools, or you may have had some kind of study. But we live in a world of multiculturalism, and there are a lot of choices, and most of them pull us away from our own Jewish identity for various reasons. So you have to make some choices of how you're going to combine that modern multicultural world with your heritage, your Jewish heritage, and how you want to identify. Now, I added this picture of me on one of our weekly jaunts to the Tel Aviv port. It's one of the favorite things we do. And it certainly adds to the Israel vibe, which I'll explain in a moment. And it certainly is a relaxing, creative, inspiring, and just plain good for your health time out from the daily routine of life. And I hope you can find something like this where you are, but certainly you can find it in Israel. We like to go for a morning coffee and a maffeh, or Danish, a type of Danish or little treat that you have that comes with the maffeh. And you sit there and you enjoy it and you watch the world go by. There are always a whole variety of people strolling the Tayelet by the port, and it's fun to watch them. One time recently, we had a platoon, I guess you'd call it, of Israeli soldiers from Givati who were doing some training, and they had all their bags and equipment and so on, and on the tables at the front of us. But it was really interesting because they checked in and they went off to do, I guess, a run of some kind, or physical training in any case. And they all joined up together after, and you can see the camaraderie. So there's such a variation in Israeli society that is always interesting. But let's get back to the Israel vibe. What is the Israel vibe? To me, the key components, and there are many others that you could add, but the key components are joy, optimism, inspiration, connection, and that's connection both to your citizens, your fellow residents of Israel, but also connection to the ancients of our Jewish history, and resilience. And resilience is a very important quality. These qualities that I have named here are really on the ladder of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once you move past your basic safety needs and your needs for sustenance, etc., you start to move up into the social realm, and you need friendships and you need relationships, as we saw with the recent COVID epidemic and all the other threats, rockets being shot into civilian communities, and worldwide condemnation of Israel and anti-Semitic incidents. You need to develop these characteristics of the Israel vibe, to develop that resistance, that of resilience, that Israelis are known for. And it really is a life-saving trait and a good health trait that Israelis have developed. So they're very much in the moment. They take time out to celebrate where they can. They're informal, so you might see a group dancing in the street or joining some kind of sing-song, or just gathering together and enjoying each other's company, because they don't wait for formal occasions. And even when you visit Israel, you may have the wonderful experience of being invited to join an Israeli family or some kind of celebratory event, such as a reception or dinner, or event for a bar mitzvah, maybe at the Western Wall, maybe just in the local synagogue. But quite often, strangers are invited to take part, because I guess the feeling is that most of us have arrived from somewhere else. We have all reformed this country and rebuilt it because we came from somewhere else. There are some sappers and who, of course, that were born here and always have lived here, and it's a wonderful mix, again, with the multiculturalism of the Israeli society. Each group that came, starting with the Arab Jews, Arab Jews. It sounds like a contradiction. What I really mean there is that the Jews who are living in Arab states in around Morocco and Tunisia and even into the Iran area, all lining the Mediterranean, where a huge diaspora was formed right around the time that the Jews were dispersed from their land. There was already a huge diaspora of Jews living in these areas. And so they've brought a whole set of different customs with them when they came back to their homeland. And they all blend into Israeli society. Now, down below here, I've pointed out that Israelis are among the most contented and satisfied with their lifestyle. And this is confirmed in the UN surveys that they've done of satisfaction with life, happiness and satisfaction with life. And I put a link there so that you can follow up and check that out. Just take a quick picture with your iPhone if you want to grab that link, but it is there. And this is really startling because Jews, of all people in the world, have suffered the most egregious events, and yet they retain their optimism and their joy in life. This is just a little bit about myself and my husband, our family, and things that we like to do. This is a special event, the Bonnet Zion, sorry, prize that's given out or has been given out most years to a really strong supporter of Israel. And it's usually held at the King David in Jerusalem. And here we are, we were lucky enough to attend one of these events. You don't have to be one of the recognized Jewish leadership to take part in special events in Israel. Again, we're a very informal society, and whatever your association or link is, you are welcome. It's not just reserved for the rich and famous. Here's another kind of event that we really enjoy, and that's lunchtime at the Machne Yehuda Shuk. And it's really quite an experience. It's noisy, it's busy, it's full of vibrant life, but it's also really good food. And that's an experience that we enjoy. This is from a presentation that I put together about Hanukkah. Modi'in, where we live, is the center of the story of Hanukkah. And it's not divorced entirely from our modern life, although it was a biblical place. It was mentioned in the Bible because the land is still the same. It's an agricultural region. You can think about all the meanings that go with that when you look out over the land and you see the vineyards and you see the trees and you see everywhere that it is still green and thriving. This is the ruins, the site of the Second Temple Synagogue that stood on this spot. And most of us believe, though the archaeologists won't exactly confirm it, that this was the place where the Maccabees themselves worshipped and the place where the event with Mattathias took place. And that's kind of awesome to be able to be in this place or be in all these sites. The stories that you've only read about and wondered, oh, they're just old stories that have been passed on. No, not when you can stand there and you can actually think about how you might have reacted and what it would have been like. It's just a different type of connection. Okay, moving on. Community is really important in Israel. It may not seem so because individuals are also very important, and there are lots of opportunities, and there's lots of innovation and creativity, just as we're known as the startup nation. Initiative is rewarded, and the skills actually that the young people learn in the IDF and the buddies that they make are often after their service are often turned into a business that two or three of the buddies will form together, and often it's very, very successful. And we know that many of the Israeli innovations and technological projects have been bought by other countries, and have added significantly to the good health of the world, and both in the technological, the agricultural innovations, and the medical research, the new devices and the new processes and curing illness. Israel is famous for all of those things, and that's one of the reasons I'm going through this and I'm on pause. Okay. I gotta get my water. Now let's get I talked before about living your life by the Jewish calendar, and that's really very special because everybody else is pretty well is doing it with you, to the point that you see buses traveling in Jerusalem and other places, and they might have a holiday greeting on them, and they might have decorations, but there's a spirit, a feeling of joy and delight and optimism whenever there's a holiday approaching, and there is one every month pretty well on the Jewish calendar. First of all, you're not the outsider. You're not appearing to be different from everybody else. So there's that wonderful feeling of being connected. We are a show and tell society, so you don't just read out loud or tell the stories. You have all kinds of symbols and traditions to revisit the event each year and learn a little bit more about it and feel part of it. So that's quite different from how other holiday celebrations are carried out. This is Hanukkah with the lighting of the candles, and this is actually from our candle lighting Hanukkah a year or two ago, and you can see the lights of the city behind us. It's interesting and exciting to travel around and see the Hanukkah in all the homes with the candles lit. And again, it's another point of connection and feeling part of something special. This is a painting I did called Exodus Journey, and it depicts the former slaves leaving Egypt, leaving Mitzrayim, and heading out into the wilderness on their journey. Now, I've depicted the people as poor and former slaves, not dressed in brightly colored, fashionable clothing and so on. They took their animals with them, they carried what they could on their backs, and they were heading strictly by faith into a wilderness where survival was doubtful unless you had the right equipment and a group to support you and you had an idea of where you were going. That's one of the things that Paro taunted the people with. Well, if I let you go, if I let you go and you go to worship your God in the wilderness, you'll just perish because it's uninhabitable and you won't know what to do. So, again, we have show and tell in all our holiday celebrations so that we really feel that we're right there in the moment taking part in it. Okay, here we have Israel's history. The inscription here on the wall is it was actually the former house of Mayor Dizengoff in Tel Aviv. And this is Independence Hall, and it's where they scrabbled together a group of Jewish leaders just before the departure of the British soldiers under the British Mandate, and they gathered to declare the state of Israel. And the UN had agreed, had voted on this, and they had the agreement to go ahead. But the Arab nations, 5 Arab nations surrounding us, stated that they would immediately attack the new state and drive it into the sea. They told their people to leave. It would only be a few days, and they would conquer these settlers, these people who had rebuilt lives in what was now the new state of Israel, sovereign state, and they would drive them into the sea, and then they would distribute the territory they had conquered to all of their people. Well, that didn't happen. Here you see Ben Gurion and the people who joined him, and they are signatories to the Declaration of Independence. I can assure you they have multimedia uh, recreating this special time, and there won't be a dry eye left in the audience when they see this, and to hear the words, "I declare that the state of Israel is reborn." And in this picture, you can see, you may not have been able to imagine from news, from media reports and so on. This is Gaza over here, and you can see it's a long stretch off the coast, and it's a very fertile area for growing things. It's not desolate at all. It's the northern part of the Negev. And here we have a separation fence, and we have a route that the soldiers would take to go into Gaza when they need to. This is a memorial dedicated to the soldiers who fell. But you can see the distance is not great. And in front of this area, all along, paralleling Gaza, are Jewish communities, Jewish agricultural communities, and quite frequently our neighbors, hostile neighbors, decide to start up, and they send rockets and incendiaries into this area. It's not a huge distance, and you have roughly a minute, maybe, to get into a shelter and to get your children into a shelter to protect from the barrage of missiles that's coming from this area. So I want you to think about that when you hear the distorted media reports that Israel has sent helicopters in to retaliate against the rockets fired from this area. It's not a great distance. And the people living in this area, the border communities with Gaza, are brave, they're industrious, and they're very patriotic people who refuse to just desert the land. They stay here and they develop their communities and they develop the agriculture. And I have nothing but admiration for them under these circumstances. So, do you know Israel's history, or do you just read bits and pieces and watch clips, video clips on the media? You get an entirely different idea of what Israel is all about if you pay attention to the media. You need to come and see for yourself, or you need to choose a wide variety of sources that you're going to examine and ask yourself the critical questions. Why, when, where, how, and what are the consequences, and what is Israel supposed to do about this? Israeli leaders haven't figured that out yet because they don't want to do the same thing that was going to be done to us, which is to drive these people out and drive them into the sea or deport them or take over the rule of this land. But they're often accused of the international media of being occupiers. They are definitely not occupiers. These people are left to govern themselves, and they're not doing so well right now. So, thank you for watching, for your attention. I hope I have given you some really new insights and that I've made you think about your identity, your Jewish identity, and how you want that to be, that you will be encouraged to learn, to read some history, and to hopefully even better to make a visit to Israel. It's amazing that less than 50% of North American Jews have actually visited Israel. They all hold an opinion on what Israel should do and what new modern things Israel should embrace, but they've never been here and they haven't seen what the actual situation is all about. There's a huge difference in that. So I have begun this Israel Vibe community to share my real experiences, day-to-day experiences of living in Israel. And I want to, again, with the Israel Vibe, to give you some of the joy, some of the optimism, some of the inspiration, and certainly the connection and the resilience to be proud of your Jewish identity, to be comfortable and secure in helping and building your own community, and in visiting Israel to learn all the good things about Israel, and to again to want to be part of this marvelous historical journey. So good luck, and please take a photo, take a picture of this link, and go to the Israel Vibe community. There will be a place there where you can sign up to be on the email list to receive different resources, newsletter, and up-to-date videos and information and so on, and a chat feature, and also a networking feature that will be able, or a meeting feature that you will be able to access if you decide to join the Israel Vibe community. But you can have some time to certainly explore the things that I've set up to build your own Jewish identity and discover your heritage. I have the YouTube channel, Israel Vibe, at Studio Rimonim, and I have my own website, which is studiorimonim.com. Rimonim being pomegranate, which is one of the seven agricultural products we celebrate festivals with. And so there's the website, there's the community, I have 3 Facebook groups that you can discover Israel through an artist's eyes. You can discover Israel with Leah's stories and paintings, and Studio Ribonim and the Israel Vibe. Actually, they're all on Facebook, so you can start there. All of those other resources are free. The community, I am going to charge $18 a month, but it's like buying a favorite magazine, and you will have lots to keep you interested and learn about Israel and to make that connection. I also write blog posts, sometimes about current events, sometimes about experiences in visiting a place, sometimes about holiday events. I do presentation packages for holiday events, and that there are a lot of holiday event resources on my Pinterest board. And if you go to Celebrate Life by the Jewish calendar on Pinterest, you will easily find the boards. There's one for each holiday, and you can enjoy the resources, including meal plans and family activities, and the background of the tradition and what you do to celebrate and so on. That's all on my Pinterest boards. So there's a wide variety of resources, free resources that I have provided for you. But the Israel Vibe community will be a network of supportive people and opportunities for meeting, for sharing ideas, asking questions, having a chat feature for personal interaction with me. You'll have bonus resources and products as members of the community, and you will have videos that I make just for you. And there'll be a lot of different things that we can develop together to answer your needs and to help you in your Jewish journey and discovering your heritage. So I'm hoping that, first of all, you will investigate some of these resources that I've provided and enjoy them, and that you will sign up for the email newsletter, the email list with the newsletter and other things, so I can keep connected with you. And then when you really feel part of this whole community, you really like it, you want to keep connected on a monthly basis and have all the things like the event packages and so on, then I hope you will sign up to the Israel Vibe community. It's a monthly subscription, and if you're not satisfied at any time, you can cancel your subscription. So it's a win-win situation. My passion is Israel. I come from a background of being an educator. Ended my career as a school principal of a public school in Toronto. I am an artist, and I'm always developing my skills to show the inspiration of places in Israel and so on. And I'm a storyteller, as you can tell from the stories that I've told about my experiences here. And finally, I've been learning how to utilize YouTube, and I'm really excited about that. So you'll see shorts and you'll see longer videos on YouTube, which will really give you the feeling of being in Israel and being part of this whole community, even if you're not able at this point to travel from your home to Israel. So thank you for being part of this, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, or you just want to use the chat feature that's um, on my website and in the community, and keep in touch. So again, I hope this will be of benefit to you. If you think of any ideas or you have suggestions on other things that you might need or benefit from, it's not easy being a Jew in the world today, and I know that. I come from a place where it became increasingly not my home, and it didn't have the same values that I wanted to celebrate. So in the end, I hope that I will be able to provide all of this for you, and you will be able to take pride in being part of the Jewish story, the link in the chain, and you will be able to have help to provide this knowledge and this connection to your children. So thank you and good night.